What happens if you stop drinking water? You commit to a total liquid boycott. No sips, no ice, no hydrating gels. Your body immediately starts a silent biological countdown to total system shutdown. The clock is ticking. The cellular drought begins right now. Good luck. The first few hours feel fine. Thirst is just a suggestion, then the saliva vanishes. Mouth membranes turn into sandpaper. The tongue feels like a dried sponge. Blood begins to thicken as plasma volume drops. The heart works harder to push this sludge through narrow veins. Every heartbeat becomes a struggle against increasing viscosity. The brain signals a crisis. It demands hydration, but the tap is dry. The biological budget is now in deficit. Enter the kidneys. These organs are the body's water treatment plants. Usually they filter waste and return water to the blood. Now they enter survival mode. Urine production slows to a trickle. The liquid becomes a dark, concentrated syrup of metabolic waste. This is called oliguria. The body is desperately hoarding every single molecule of H2O. Meanwhile, the blood pressure plummets. Oxygen delivery to the organs becomes erratic. The brain starts to shrink. It literally pulls away from the skull as the fluid in the cerebrospinal space evaporates. This creates a dull, pounding headache that refuses to leave. The biological architecture is collapsing because the scaffolding is made of water. It hurts. At this point, you might think a single slice of cucumber would save you. It won't. The metabolic cost of digesting that cucumber requires more water than the vegetable provides. You are effectively paying a water tax you cannot afford. The bankruptcy is inevitable. Day 3 arrives. The body begins a process called autophagy. It starts eating itself to survive, but the real horror is the electrolyte imbalance. Sodium levels in the blood spike. This triggers a massive osmotic shift. Water is ripped out of the healthy cells to dilute the salt in the bloodstream. Cells shrivel like raisin. The brain experiences a catastrophic short circuit. Delirium sets in. Hallucinations appear. You might see a giant, shimmering water bottle in the distance. It is a lie created by a dying neocortex. The skin loses all elasticity. If you pinch your arm, the flesh stays peaked like a tent. This is called poor skin turgor. Your internal chemistry is no longer a balanced equation. It is a chaotic chemical fire. The biological machine is grinding its gears without any lubrication. Everything is friction. Everything is heat. Stop. The organs now enter the final stage of failure. The kidneys stop producing urine entirely. This is anuric renal failure. Urea and creatinine flood the bloodstream. These toxins act like poison. The blood becomes a caustic soup of metabolic debris. The liver struggles to process the sludge. The heart, now pumping a substance with the consistency of molasses, begins to flutter. Arrhythmias kick in. The lungs struggle to exchange gases because the mucous membranes have dried into a crust. Every breath feels like inhaling powdered glass. The body is no longer a living organism. It is a desiccated husk. The temperature regulation system fails. Without sweat, the core temperature spikes. Hyperthermia sets in. The brain literally begins to cook in its own juices. The remaining fluid is concentrated into a few critical areas. The consciousness flickers like a dying light bulb. There is no more thirst. There is only a deep cellular silence. The biological clock has reached zero. The system is offline. The lights are out. The game is over. You lost. But we are not done. The physics of decay take over. Once the heart stops, the remaining water in the cells begins to migrate. Osmosis pushes fluid into the interstitial spaces. The body bloats momentarily before the final evaporation. In a dry environment, mummification begins. The skin turns into leather. The eyes sink deep into the sockets. The lips pull back in a permanent dried grimace. The muscles contract as they lose structural integrity. You are now a biological statue, a human raisin. Insects arrive. They find a concentrated source of minerals and salts. The body becomes a mineral lick for the local fauna. The skeletal structure remains, bleached by the sun. The calcium becomes brittle. Eventually, the wind erodes the remaining organic matter. The molecules that once composed a thinking, breathing human are scattered across the landscape. The carbon returns to the soil. The nitrogen enters the air. The water that you refuse to drink is now being drunk by a nearby shrub. The cycle is complete. Your refusal to hydrate has successfully fueled a very small, unremarkable bush in the middle of nowhere. It is a very hydrated bush, truly impressive. Scientifically, you have transitioned from a complex biological entity to a simple geological feature. The total lack of water transformed your anatomy into a salt-preserved specimen. While the process was agonizing in total, there is one final detail to consider. In most jurisdictions, the legal definition of death occurs when brain activity ceases. Since your brain evaporated 3 days ago, you have been legally dead for a while. This simplifies the paperwork significantly. No need for a long hospital stay or expensive life support. Yay. The autopsy report is brief. Cause of death is listed as extreme dehydration. The coroner notes that the body is unusually light, making transport much easier for the staff. You have successfully reduced your own shipping costs. This is the only efficiency gained from your liquid boycott. Your water bottle is right there. Drink some, then subscribe to the What If Club to find out what happens if you eat a bowl of nails. Do it.